Imagine this. It's the dead of night, December 26, 1985, in a lonely cabin buried deep in the snow-dusted woods of upstate New York. Whitley Strieber, a horror writer known for spinning tales of terror, snaps awake, or does he? The room feels wrong. The air's thick, pressing down like an invisible hand, and his body refuses to budge. Then he sees them. Small, gray figures with heads too large, eyes too vast, black, unblinking pools staring right through him. They don't speak, don't move, just watch. Their presence a silent scream in the stillness. Was this a dream bleeding into reality? A mind cracking under its own weight? Or did something not of this world, step into that cabin, leaving no trace but the shiver in his bones? Strieber swears it was real, and that night didn't just pass. It sank its claws into him, dragging him into a mystery that still haunts us today. What you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's a puzzle, one of the most debated alien encounter claims ever whispered. It begins with that single, frozen moment and explodes into a book, Communion, that seized the world's imagination, splitting it between those who nod in quiet belief and those who roll their eyes. But here's the hook that pulls you in. No one can nail down what happened. Was Strieber touched by beings from the stars? Or did his own fears sculpt a phantom too vivid to shake? Or could it be something else? Something buried, something we're not ready to face? Over the next stretch of time, we'll creep through that night in the woods, peel apart the layers of communion and its echoes, and sift through the fragments, clues or illusions, that keep this tale alive. You'll hear of memories clawed back from hypnosis, whispers of strange marks on his body, and a ripple that stretched across decades, tugging at our deepest curiosities. This isn't just about one man. It's about what his story forces us to ask. What's out there, lurking beyond the trees? What's watching when the lights go out? And why does it feel so close, like a shadow brushing your skin? Stay with me. This might make you question what's real and what's been waiting in the dark all along. Let's step into that night, the one that rewrote Strieber's life. It wasn't supposed to be anything special. He'd escaped to the cabin with his wife and their young son, seeking a quiet break after Christmas. The place was a refuge, wooden walls, a crackling fireplace, surrounded by a forest so dense it swallowed sound. Snow clung to the pines, the wind a low moan through the branches. Strieber went to bed that night expecting peace, but peace didn't come. He woke, or thought he did, to a hum, a vibration that buzzed in his chest, too subtle to pinpoint. Then the paralysis hit, a weight crushing him into the mattress. His eyes darted, heart hammering, and there they were. Those figures, 3 or 4, he'd later guess, short, gray, with limbs like twigs and eyes that swallowed light. They didn't rush, didn't threaten, just stood there, staring, as if they'd always been part of the room. He tried to scream, to thrash, but nothing worked. Then came a blur, a sensation of floating, a flash of cold, and they were gone. When he finally broke free, gasping, the cabin was silent again, but the stillness felt like a lie. Was it sleep paralysis, like the textbooks say? A nightmare born from a horror writer's mind? But here's what gnaws at you. Strieber didn't shrug it off. He couldn't. Those eyes stayed with him, a memory too sharp to blur. What would you do if you couldn't unsee something like that? If every quiet night after felt like it was hiding them again? For Strieber, that night wasn't an end. It was a beginning, a door creaking open to something he'd chased for years. That chase led to Communion, a book he poured out in 1987 that turned his private dread into a public firestorm. Strieber didn't dress it up as fiction. He called it truth, a raw recounting of what he'd endured. He wrote of the visitors in stark detail. Their gray, almost translucent skin, their thin fingers, those eyes that seemed to hold secrets older than time. He didn't stop there. He sought answers, turning to hypnosis with a doctor named Donald Klein. Under that trance, more spilled out. Being lifted from his bed, carried to a place of blinding light and cold metal, probed by hands that didn't feel human. The book hit like a thunderclap. Millions bought it, propelling it to bestseller lists, its cover staring back with that now iconic alien face. But it wasn't all awe. Critics sneered. Here was a horror writer cashing in, they said, weaving a tale too convenient for his trade. Yet believers saw something deeper, a crack in the wall of what we're told is real. And then there's this. Letters flooded in, thousands of them. From people who'd never met Strieber but knew those eyes, those figures, from their own nights. Mass hysteria? A shared dream? Or were they all brushing the same unseen edge? Communion didn't just share Strieber's story. It lit a match, and the flames still flicker. Why did so many feel it wasn't just his memory? But there's two. What chord did it strike that keeps resonating decades later? Now, let's pause, because a claim this wild demands something tangible, doesn't it? What's the evidence, or the lack of it? Strieber pointed to signs. A strange mark on his ear, a tiny object he called an implant, though it vanished before science could grip it. His wife saw the aftermath, him trembling, pale, that night in the cabin. And a neighbor once spoke of odd sounds in the woods, a low drone that didn't fit the wind or wildlife. There were others nearby, too, who later hinted at lights flickering above the trees, though no one snapped a photo. But here's where it frays. No film, no recordings, just words and fleeting impressions. Skeptics pounce. Strieber was stressed, they say, his mind a stew of deadlines and dark fiction. Sleep paralysis fits neatly, a known trick of the brain conjuring shadows. Yet the counterpoint stings. Why do these stories echo across the world? From rural America to distant villages, people who've never read Communion describe the same gray beings, the same paralyzing dread. If it's all imagination, why does it align so eerily? Strieber's tale isn't a lone cry. It's a chorus, one that grows louder the more you listen. Could it be coincidence? A universal fear we all carry? Or is there something threading these accounts together? Something we're not equipped to measure? The fallout of that night didn't just mark Strieber. It reshaped him. Communion wasn't the end. He kept going, claiming more visits, more glimpses of those figures over the years. His career pivoted, less horror novels, more books probing the edges of reality, from aliens to the occult. He became a voice for the fringe, a man who'd stared into the abyss and couldn't look away. But it cost him. Friends drifted, skeptics mocked, and he spoke of isolation, of feeling watched even in daylight. Yet a following grew, people drawn to his words, to the possibility he'd touched something real. And Communion? It didn't just sit on shelves, it seeped into culture. That gray, big-eyed alien we see in movies, on posters, in nightmares? Strieber didn't invent it, but he branded it, gave it a face we can't unsee. His story birthed a legacy. Abductees came forward, researchers took notes, and the question of contact grew louder. Did he spark a movement, or tap into one already simmering? What's chilling is how it lingers, how his tale feels less like a closed book and more like a warning. Could those visitors still be out there, silent, patient, or did Strieber's obsession birth a myth too potent to fade? Either way, his shadow stretches long, daring us to peek into the dark. So where does that leave us now? We've walked the path, through that night in the cabin, the pages of Communion, the scraps of proof and doubt, and the life it left behind. This isn't about solving it. Strieber's story doesn't hand us answers on a platter. It's about what it stirs, what it whispers when the room goes quiet. What if those figures weren't just in his head? What if they're out there, hovering beyond the trees, their eyes locked on us? Or what if the real riddle isn't in the sky, but here? Something woven into our world, unnoticed until it's too late. Strieber's tale pulls us to the edge, makes us squint into the unknown, and wonder. If this gripped you, if it planted even a seed of doubt, let me know below. What do you think happened that night? Was it real or something we've all dreamed up together? Subscribe if these mysteries pull you in, and share this with someone who'd stand at that edge with you. Because maybe the truth isn't out there. It's already here, waiting for us to turn on the light.